NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by FedEx. We understand you need reliable shipping options. FedEx. By Napa. Napa know-how. And by AT&T, a better 3G experience. In Bristol, Tennessee, we're live in time for an AT&T race break with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, and some raindrops falling here. You know, last year's race, the entire race, we had a total of 13 lead changes. We've already had 12, and we've gone 130 laps so far.
We've seen some great aggressive racing right now, and I think we've seen a lot of guys kind of like going and coming. I think that's the same thing we're going to see the rest of this race. There's going to be a lot of guys still we haven't heard from, like Kevin Harvick.
And Greg Biffle, the leader. Jimmy Johnson's led the most laps, but rain, a factor on the pre-race show. We thought we'd get through it. We welcome in Rick Dickert, our Fox Storm Scout from the Fox Storm Scout Weather Center with his weather machine. I don't know if you have a fuel-injected Doppler or what there, but the question, I guess, fans watching.
That's right.
Rick, how long is it going to last here? It's falling outside right now, but it's intermittent at the moment.
Should be light. It should continue light, as you just mentioned there, Chris. We'll look at the radar here, and it's this batch right here that's pushing through the Speedway area. I don't anticipate this shower lasting more than about 10 or 15 minutes. A little bit to the west and to the south, we're seeing a little bit of a dry slide here. So hopefully that will allow the race to continue for another hour or so. But there is a lot of light stuff to the south and a little bit further to the west. So we could be in for a couple of showers like this on and off through the race. But the bulk of the heaviest, persistent rain is still a few hours away.
All right, Rick will be keeping an eye on things. It's a concrete track. It drains well, or fast, I should say.
Well, I think the key thing is right now NASCAR has put the dryers out on the racetrack along with the stock cars because of the fact that as long as these cars are going around, the heat off the headers will also help keep the racetrack dry. So they're blowing the racetrack, getting it dry, getting it cleaned off, and all this right here should help get us back racing quicker.
Under our fourth caution, we mentioned 12 lead changes. Joey Logano started on the pole. And the past two race winners of the season, Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson, battling and jockeying for position. And as we said, Jimmy Johnson has led 77 laps. Kurt Busch has led 39. Clint Boyer with some engine trouble.
Yeah, he was totally unexpected about this, fourth in points, but you can see that he had a big explosion underneath that number 33 hood.
And then tire problems for Logano.
Yeah, he runs over something and gets clipped coming into pit road, but he comes down the wrong way, loses a lot of ground, finds himself back in 36th position.
His first career pole, and then Denny Hamlin, part of Joe Gibbs Racing, also with a tire problem.
Chris, it looked like a hard lick, but he's still out there running in 30th position on the lead lap.
So the early indications so far, some tire action. We've seen a few guys kind of brush into each other. The Carl Edwards, Keselowski haven't gotten near each other.
Well, it's not time to, Chris. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. Not at the first part of a race. You should be smart enough. Keep your nose clean. Realize, really, if you're going to get pushing and shoving, it's the latter part. But the cool thing is, so far, we've seen some great racing. Guys have got some cars that work better on the bottom than others. Other guys are able to work up toward the top. So,
and Larry McReynolds pointed out, too, obviously, Jimmy Johnson came in. People thought the car to watch. Kurt Busch has held his own. Any other early indications of some of the drivers? Jeff Gordon is currently running fifth, who's won here 5 times.
You got Mark Martin and Tony Stewart. All of a sudden, they got their cars better. But here's a guy that's got 5 wins here. There's a guy that understands, how to get to victory lane, and that's Mark Martin. He's as tough as they come, and he likes rock and roll too.
And Kyle Busch, who started 38th up to 25th, he won twice last year. Keselowski running in the top 10. Be sure to cast your vote all season long for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. The standings from last week, and you can text from your AT&T phone the car number of the crew you think is the most valuable in each race. Text it to 2258. Delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. 135 laps in. We're drying out the track here in Bristol, Tennessee. This is NASCAR on Fox.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. We're under caution. The skies are lightening up. NASCAR drying the track, trying to get us back under green flag racing. Here's the start-finish line at Bristol, and we've talked about the pit road being on both sides. Here is Joey Logano's pit, right at the end of pit road on the front side. So under caution, he has to enter the pits in turn 2, come around to his pit here, and exit at turn number 1. However, under the green flag, he can enter the pits at turn 3 or turn 4 and exit the pits at turn 1. Things for Logano got a little bit confused, and it can be confusing at Bristol. It requires an awful lot of coordination between driver, crew chief, and spotter, as Jeff Hammond explains in this week's Nationwide Pit Zone.
Bristol is unique. It still has the split pit road. The other thing about Bristol we don't want to lose sight of is how loud it is down here on pit road. Imagine having a chainsaw right behind your head for 500 laps or 3 hours. It can get pretty busy and pretty noisy. Because of that and the split pit road, you, the crew chief, and the spotter up above have got to be on your toes. You got to let that driver know whether he's coming down for a caution flag stop or it's a green flag stop. Communication is so important, and this noise really makes things difficult. But being the right place, the right time, is going to be the key to winning.
Thanks, Jeff. Joey Logano currently scored in 36th place after cutting down a tire and then having that mishap as to where to enter the pits under green. A little bit damp here in Bristol, but they're trying to get the track dry just as quickly as possible.
I think we're going to be good here, guys. It's already stopped raining, and it doesn't take but just a few minutes with those jet blowers to dry that concrete up.
We'll take a break from Bristol with Greg Biffle leading Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Paulo Montoya, and Jeff Gordon.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Ford F-Series, America's best-selling brand of trucks for 33 years straight. Built Ford tough. By Nationwide Insurance. Call or visit us online for a quote today. And by DirecTV. For the most HD channels, get DirecTV.
Race cars keeping heat in the racetrack, and 5 jet dryers hard at work. As you watch from our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. You can learn how to win $1 million at directv.com/NASCAR. Let's go downstairs for our DirecTV head-to-head knockout pit report. Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, sometimes the best adjustment is no adjustment. When the third caution flew on lap 115, Greg Biffle told Greg Irwin the car is really starting to get free going into the turns, but leave it alone, so they just took tires. Dick Berggren.
Tony Stewart has gone from 11th to 7th, driving a race car that he thinks is just perfect for him. He has had a bit of luck here. He has won a single race at Bristol in the Cup Series, but 3 times he's led the most laps, only to be disappointed at the end when things like a fuel cable broke and shut the carburetor off for gas. He's hoping today for no mechanical problems.
Martin Truex Jr., a nationwide winner here at Bristol, but still searching his first top 10 in the Sprint Cup Series here in Thunder Valley. He says the biggest issue I've got, we just got to work this car, make it roll a little better through the center of the corner. Other than that, it's pretty solid.
What about Paul Menard? At this time last year, he was 38th in points. He is in the top 10 in 9th, meaning for the first time in his career, he participated in NASCAR's top 12 media availability. The media asked him questions. He said he loved it. Right now, he's currently running 10th, and he said his car is just a little bit snug in the center, but otherwise, very good.
Thanks, Krista. Now, next week is our selection show, and then you can fill out your bracket for DirecTV head-to-head knockout. And a perfect bracket could win $1 million. Visit directv.com/NASCAR for all the information.
Well, if it's anything like the NCAAs, I don't know if anybody could get a perfect bracket or not. What a bunch of upsets. Other than Kentucky, and they're just upsetting people.
That already looks like, as we're getting on one to go, that Greg Biffle, our leader, I think he learned a lot while ago with Kurt Busch, the leader, taking the inside. Greg has elected to restart this race on the outside line.
They're going to add 1 lap to clear the track of the jet dryers. Next week, same song, second verse. We're on NASCAR's shortest track, Martinsville, Virginia. Love this place. Drag strip straightaways.
Little track, a lot of smack. Little Martinsville contact. You got a man up there, boys. You go in the corner like a gentleman. You come off the corner like an animal.
Someone will have a new bike. Next Sunday, noon Eastern, NASCAR on Fox, where they've been racing since 1948, Martinsville, Virginia.
and somebody wants to win this race. This is the last race with the wing. Martinsville will be the first race back to the conventional rear spoiler.
What you want to do at Martinsville is clean everybody's clock.